Thank you very much. That's really nice. I appreciate it. What a crowd, what a turnout. They tell me it's a record. Don't we like doing records? You know, we have to do records. You know, I did it last week. We decided it was time. This country is in such bad shape. It was just time. And I announced that I'd be running for president. And I will put every ounce of my power and strength into this run. I am so tired, with the exception of the politicians like David and Steve and a few of the others that are in this room. I am so tired of politicians running this country. They're all talk, they're no action, they don't have it. They just don't have it. And we have to stop. We have to go back to basics. You know, it's like a football team. They get too technical. The coach comes in, Vince Lombardi, Belichick, a couple of them, right? The great ones, they come in, they go back to basics. We have to go back to basics in this country. And I'll tell you, I'm very excited about what we're doing. The polls were fantastic. They just came in. They were great. They were great. I don't see how I'm in second place with Bush being. The last thing we need is another Bush, that I can tell you. I've had it with Bushes. Read my lips, no more taxes. Guess what? We had taxes, and I'm not even talking there. You just look at what happened. Look at that last few months of our last Bush's presidency. He gave us Barack Obama. Whether you like it or not, Abraham Lincoln couldn't have won that election as a Republican. Nobody could have won that election. So we had it with the Bushes, and something has to change. We just went through a horrendous week in the Supreme Court, and if you look at Justice John Roberts, what he's done to Obamacare, should be Roberts Care more than Obamacare. Because it should have died 2 years ago, and he didn't vote. And then it could have at least been very badly damaged and probably would have died a lot. It's going to die anyway. Look, eventually we're going to get it repealed and replaced. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to do that, believe me. But if you think about it, Jeb Bush gave us Justice Roberts. He's the one that pushed Justice Roberts. You know, he worked with Jeb Bush. I don't know if anybody knows that. And he pushed him. How could a thing like this happen? Obamacare was dead, totally dead. And then Roberts, in order to be popular in the Beltway, who knows why? Who knows why? He came in with a shocking decision. Then he came in again last week with a shocking decision. So that was given by Jeb. Another thing having to do with Jeb, strongly in favor of Common Core, strongly. That means your children in Iowa are going to be represented and told what they're going to learn from people in Washington, D.C. I know the people in Washington, D.C. You do not want that, believe me. I don't even know how, I don't even know how you can think that way. I mean, it's so far off. It's so far off. And then he's weak on immigration. One thing, you know, with me, I'm strong on immigration. We're going to have a border. We're going to have a real border. We're going to get that border going. I have received so much acclaim for my stance. Now look, a regular politician, if you're a politician, with the kind of hits that they were trying to do on me, and I reversed it. I think I hit them probably harder than they ended up hitting me. This Univision. They signed a contract, 5 years, totally binding. Totally. I'm pretty good at contracts, believe me. Believe me. They call me up, and they say, oh, you said bad things about immigration. Yeah, I said I want a border. That's what I said. That's really bad. You said bad things. You know, we have, I guess, 70% of their businesses in Mexico. By the way, I love Mexico. I have a great relationship with Mexico. I love the Mexican people. They have unbelievable spirit. Many of them work for me. I have friends that are from Mexico. But Mexico is killing our country in trade. They're taking your jobs, and they're killing you at the border. But they're taking your jobs like, other than China and a couple of others, nobody is doing it. And let me tell you, Mexico's going a step further. Because very soon, Mexico will be the new China in terms of economic development. You know, Ford is building a $2.5 billion plant for cars and trucks and parts in Mexico. That doesn't help us. Believe me. The cars will come in, no tax. The trucks will come in, no tax. The parts will come in, no tax. But I had an idea for Ford. let the illegals drive all of this equipment in. If they drive the equipment in, they'll come in, get a fly. I wonder where that fly comes from. Let the illegals drive it in and we'll see what happens. Okay, but I don't want that. I want Ford to build in this country. Now in Tennessee, you probably read Wall Street Journal, big car deal was going to Tennessee. At the last moment, they changed their mind. They're going to Mexico. Now, I don't mind Mexico doing well. I want Mexico to do well. But I want the United States. My loyalty is to the United States. I'm running for president of the United States. I'm not in Mexico running for something in Mexico. And we have to protect our country. We have to cherish our country. We owe $18 trillion. Soon it's actually going to be 19. It's going to go up to 24. And you know, 24 trillion, that's like a magic number. That's like the point of no return. It's terrible. So I was very strong, and I had a hell of a week because I was really fighting these characters from Univision. They have a signed contract. They called me up, the head person, one of the head people. They got so many head people, they don't even know. They called me up, and they say, Donald, we're sorry. We're sorry. Sorry for what? He talked to me like for 5 minutes. He wouldn't tell me. I think I got an idea what he was going to say. I said, tell me. You're going to break your contract? Tell me. Well, Donald, we want to apologize. Well, are you going to break your contract? It's binding. I know. It's not the money. We'll give you whatever you want. This is what he's telling me. Guy was petrified. They said, listen, because one of my people told me, actually. I had a little, inside information. I said, are you going to break your contract? Yes. I said, that's okay. We'll see you in court. That's all right. Now, a regular politician would say, oh, please don't do that. It'll be bad publicity. The fact is, the reason they broke their contract, and I have pretty strong opinions on that, because the Mexican government did not want me speaking about Ford and about all these trade deals, which are a disaster for this country. A disaster. They didn't want me speaking about the border. And when I wrote the letter to the guy that you will never enter Trump National Doral again, close the gate, I don't want your people, I don't want you. By the way, this is an American guy, just so you know. This is not a Mexican. I wouldn't have written if he was a Mexican, because I'm very sensitive, okay? He's an American guy, Randy. And he didn't have the guts to call me. He had his guy call me. He couldn't call me, because he was afraid to call me. But when I wrote the letter to him, my last paragraph was a PS. And it said, congratulate the Mexican government, your friends, and my friends. Fine. Again, I hold nothing against them. I wish we had people that were smart. Same like China. I talk about China all the time. They love me. I love them. The biggest bank in the world is China. They're one of my buildings in China. One of my buildings. I have the biggest bank in the world as a tenant. But I'm really disappointed with our country. I mean, I can't help it, and I can't get upset that Mexico, China, Japan, all of these countries have smarter negotiators and smarter leaders, because it all starts with the leader, than we have. So I'm not angry at Mexico. I love Mexico. I think it's great. I wish they were negotiating for us. But I said in the letter, I do. Our people are incompetent. We have people that got there because of political contributions. They're people that shouldn't be negotiating. It's almost like, where do they come up with these ideas? It's like Sergeant Bergdahl, right? He's a horror show. Sergeant Bergdahl is a traitor. He leaves. We lost 6 young men, David, right? 6 wonderful young soldiers trying to find him. He deserted. He was a deserter, traitor. And they knew he was a traitor because the colonel and the general were talking to everybody, and the men, all the people were saying, he left, he left, he left. When I hear that, I say, let him have him. The negotiation stops, right? For you and for Steve. Where the hell is Steve? Yeah, the negotiation stops. I know that, because I know these 2 guys. There's Steve. He's saying, right, Steve? That negotiation would have stopped. As soon as he hears the word traitor, by the way, lots of luck, Sergeant Bergdahl, is that right? You can have him. So here's what I say. So we get a traitor, no good traitor, And we give them 5 killers that are leaders that they've wanted for years. This is the way we do it. And yet, for James Foley, whose parents I got to know, who was beheaded, for James Foley, we don't fight. We fight for Bergdahl, who I think we should actually drop him back in there. I'd give him back in 2 seconds. I love to retrade deals. You know, I shouldn't say it, but I do like to retrade deals every once in a while. But I would give him back in 2 seconds. But James Foley, we let him out there, and he's dead. And dead in a vicious way. In a vicious way. And I call Obama the 5-for-1 president, because that's what you have. Who would do a deal? We take a traitor, they get the 5 people that they wanted the most in the whole world. And they're out there now fighting against us. Who would do this? So we need a different thinking. You look at the Iran deal. Anytime, anywhere, you have to have the right to negotiate. You have to have the right to go in there and check for nuclear. Anytime. It's very simple. You know, the agreement's very simple. I love the idea of an agreement. But I would have doubled up and tripled up the sanctions, and they would have come to us instead of going back saying what stupid people we are. I mean, we have our chief negotiator. He's 73 years old. He goes into a bicycle race. And he falls off the bike and he breaks his leg, right? This is what we have. This is the people. This is the thinking that we have. I promise you, if I'm elected president, you'll never see me on a bicycle. Never. And you know, somebody said, what would you do differently in terms of president, if you were president, like grooming-wise? I said, I'll probably comb my hair back. It is actually my hair, you know. It actually is, which I always know there's like bad people when they say he wears. I had this actually great story in a big paper about 2 weeks ago. And they said that he's brilliant, he's really amazing, he's wonderful financially, but he has the worst hairpiece I've ever. I don't wear a hairpiece, it's my hair. So I couldn't even show the story, okay? But they said, what would you do different? I said, I'd comb my hair back. Why? Because this takes too long to comb. I wouldn't have time. Because if I were in the White House, I would be working my ass off. It's true. It's true. It's true. But I'll tell you how dishonest things are in terms of the media and, you know, more the political. Because I've always had great financial media. they've always treated me. You know, numbers are simpler. Like you're either doing well or you're not doing well, right? But I've always had great sort of like financial coverage. And even if I did something a little wrong, they'd hit me and I'd straighten it out. It's fine. But, you know, the political media is really dishonest. So I have a statement, and it's really sort of a tough statement. We say, you know, my theme is being Make America Great Again, right? Right? That's a good, is there any better theme than that? You know, to me, you know, a couple of guys that are up here tried to copy it. A couple of the candidates, and I have it actually trademarked. I sent them legal letters. Don't ever do that again. You know, I get the biggest ovations. I'm not bragging. You know what I say? People like. I don't want illegals coming in. I want to make our country great. I want to make it rich. We got to make it rich. Somebody said, "What a horrible statement! How crass to say. We got to be rich in order to be great. We got to build up our military. We got to take care of our vets. If we don't take care of our vets, I mean." Our vets are taken care of like third class citizens. And they're the greatest people we have. I mean, they're courageous. These are great people. We take care of them badly. And our military, we give the enemy most of our good stuff. We bring stuff over. We give it to our so-called allies who don't know what they're doing. Who's, you know, look, in all fairness to them, they're not really chicken. They have nothing to fight for. There is no Iraq. I mean, there is no Iraq. So a bullet's fired and they leave. You know, if they had something they really wanted, you could probably get them to fight. Maybe. Maybe. Who knows? All I know is one bullet gets fired. Listen to this. 2,300 Humvees. Who ever heard of 2,300? 2,000. I said, how the hell do you get that many? You know, I figured like 2, right? 1, 5. Do you know what 2,000? These are heavily armored. They're much better than the ones we have. You know who has them? Our enemy. They have all of them. Because a couple of bullets were shot in the air and everybody, you know, fled. So the enemies walked in, boy, these things are nice. We don't have the same equipment they have. So we're running competently. You know, you take Saudi Arabia. I like the Saudis. They're great. They give me a lot of money for apartments. I make a lot of money with this. So do the Chinese, by the way. Chinese pay me a fortune for it. I mean, these guys pay serious money for apartments. And so I love them. They're great. But, you know, they're making $1 billion a day. Think of it. $1 billion a day. Why aren't they helping us toward paying for their protection? We send over ships. Like, fairly recently, there could have been an attack. So we send over, like, aircraft carriers, destroyers, you know, many, many millions of dollars worth of turning on the key. You know, you turn on the key for one of those aircraft carriers, that's $4 or $5 million, okay? See, I would say, Captain, let's keep it off. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's true. But why aren't they paying us? And I don't say protection. I say, look, fellas, help us out. You can make a lot of money. You got the greatest yachts in the world. You got the greatest airplanes in the world. Pay. Because frankly, without us, you wouldn't be there for about 2 weeks. You wouldn't be there for 2 weeks. You know, when Yemen is attacked, did anybody ever look at Yemen where it relates to Saudi Arabia? David knows. That's the longest border I've ever seen on any country. Do you think, David, they really want Yemen? No. They want the oil. And I was very good. I predicted in 2004, Reuters, 2004, I predicted very strongly, we shouldn't go in. I'm a very military person. I want the military to be really strong. You got to use it properly. You got to use it properly. I would have such a strong military, and people would look at us and they say, there's no way we're messing with those guys. Especially if he's president. No, it's true. But I said, and I said it strongly, I said, this mic is sort of funny, it just keeps going down slowly. It's like Chinese torture, you know what that is? Slow. If it went down fast, I'd almost like it better. Just keeps slowly going down. But you know, I said very, very strongly, Reuters, July of 2004, long time ago. It's 11 years, long time ago. I said, don't go into Iraq. I said it for a lot of reasons. Number one, when the World Trade Center came down, the terrorist families went back to Saudi Arabia. They didn't go back to Iraq, they went back to Saudi Arabia. I don't know if anybody knows that. These are minor details. Okay? Did you know that? They went back to Saudi Arabia. Okay? First of all, why did we let them to go back? Why? How come they went back? Why didn't we know what was going on? Why didn't we have some better intelligence? This was a big plan. Lots of people knew about it. But the families, you know, they put their families on planes the day before, 2 days before they went back to Saudi Arabia, most of them. I said to myself, oh, so we're attacking Iraq, but the families went back to Saudi Arabia. Why are we doing that? Then, if you study a little of the history, Iran and Iraq were basically equals, right? They would have wars all the time. They loved to fight. And, you know, Saddam Hussein would do the gas, and everybody would go crazy, and the other guys would do this, and they'd go this way, that way. They had a border, right? The border, they'd move 10 feet left, 10 feet right, 10 feet left. This goes on for decades and forever. What the hell are we getting involved for? What are we getting involved for? Bush said once, I don't want the women to wear boom. But they want to. I see them in New York. They're wearing that. What the hell right does he have? The women want to. And if they don't, believe me, I know some. And they're the boss in the family. I will tell you. They go home, that comes off, and the husband is scared stiff. I've been there. My guy will tell me, is that right, Keith? We go, I deal all the time. They're petrified of those women. They want to do what they'll do. But why are we spending our money? Why are we wasting our money? Why are we helping people that don't need it? Why? South Korea. I just ordered 4,000 television sets. 4,000. You can't buy a television set here. I mean, maybe, I guess there could be, I don't know. But Samsung, LG, most of them now are in South Korea. Or Japan, but Sony's not doing as well as it used to. Sony's getting beat up pretty good by South Korea, actually. But, so I ordered thousands and thousands of television sets for a big project, right? I said, I'd love to buy them from, like, Iowa. Do you make any television sets around here? You can't buy them. They're making a fortune on trade. They send them in here tax-free. Boats, they come in with thousands, tens of thousands of televisions. Japan comes in with boats, tens of thousands. Friends of mine say, I've never seen anything like it. You go to Los Angeles, you go see those boats coming in where the cars are coming in by the millions. What do we get out of it? What do we get? We lost our base. There's no tax. By the way, try going to Japan and selling something. Doesn't work. I always say, jokingly, but it's sad, how many Chevrolets do you think are riding around right now in Tokyo? 2? Okay? Not too many. And so I look at the stupidity of our politicians. I think they're stupid. You know, a lot of people think they've got some kind of a plan. I actually don't think they're that smart to have a plan. I just think they're stupid people. And I look at what they're doing. I look at what they're doing. And it's like Bergdorf, 5 for 1. Who would make a deal like that? Who would do it? At least they do 1 for 1 or something. 5 for 1. And the 5 are great, and he's a disaster. And what are we doing? So I look at it, and I see it, and it's incredible. And, you know, one of the things when I was talking about the border, and everybody was like hitting me very unfairly, I said, all I want to do is have a border. I want to have a strong, really nice border. And people that are illegal cannot come in. I mean, is that such a bad thing? Okay? And criminals, and by the way, criminals cannot come in. And if they do come in, we got to get them out fast. So the certain press and some of the people, and these phony people at Univision, they put out a really, really stinging long thing. Trump is horrible. He hates Mexicans. I love Mexicans. He's not treating the Mexicans fairly. I treat them very fairly. And by the way, many of them that live here, they want the border also because they want to be protected. You know, what a lot of people don't know is the people that came in here illegally, those people, we got to either get them out or we have to do something. Something's going to happen. Now, the criminals, we have to get them out immediately. You know, it's hard. When you have 11 to 30, they don't even know. The other day, somebody was on television from the administration. How many do we have? Guy's like a days. He has no clue. Could be 11. The announcer goes, well, I hear it could be 30. Oh, it could be 30. That's a pretty big difference. In fact, it ended up could be 34. So it's from 11 to 34 million people. Nobody knows. And they're all over the place. You have, I heard about your disaster with IBM over here, you know, in Iowa. And you have them, and it's fine. Let them work, let them this. But we need a border, we need strength. People cannot come into our country illegally, or we don't have a country. If you don't have a border, you don't have a country. That's all there is. So in my presidential speech, where I announced I was running for president, I was very strong. I said, I want a border, blah, blah, blah. And I spoke very strongly about immigration, because I believe it very powerfully. And they came out at me like I was the worst human being. Like everybody that's coming over the border is Mother Teresa. Okay? It's true. So I asked some of my people, my staff, would you do me a favor? Would you get some of the press? I mean, just to see, because I've heard these horror stories. And by the way, I have friends in Los Angeles that called me, and some are really rich people. One of them is one of the richest people in the country. He said, I love you, because you're the only guy that's telling the truth. It's a disaster what's coming in. It's a disaster. And we're not talking to Mexicans. We're talking about they're coming from all over the world. We're talking about coming from all over the world. And yes, in many cases, they're criminals. Yes. And that makes sense, because that's the way it is. Mexico's smart, and other countries are smart. They have a country, I won't mention, but I'll give you the information if you need it, where they actually advertise, go over to the border, we'll get you into the United States, and they'll take care of you for the rest of your life. You believe it? They bring them in. They walk right past the guards. The guards are fantastic. So I was taking this little bit of heat. I didn't care. You know, what the hell. Hey, look, I'm going to do something. Maybe it's going to work, maybe it's not. I've always said a really successful person can't run for political office and just can't get elected, because I've done so much. I've won so much. I have really beaten the hell out of some people. And I actually said, they start to applaud us. It's true, because that's what we need. But I actually said, and I made it in the speech, I'm really rich. And because of that, that's the kind of thinking you need. I'm really rich, and that's the kind of thinking this country needs. It doesn't mean I'm a nice person, although I think I am. People like me. My kids love me, Ivanka. They want to hear that. They love me. But I am a nice person. I love to give money to charity, but regardless. So I make a speech. I said, I'm really rich. And the next sentence was immediate. And that's the kind of mentality and thinking we need in this country, because we have to make our country rich again. We have to. We have to, in order to be good. And then we'll make our country great again. So I start up and say, I'm really rich, and they cut the tape. And I'm all over television all night saying, I'm really rich. And I look like a lunatic. All I said is, I'm really rich, and we're gonna, do, and that's the mentality. But they didn't leave that, so it's one of those. And I was also referring to the fact that I'm not taking money, like Steve King and like David, where they take money, they call it. Yeah, but I'm not taking money for cash. I don't need it. If some people are going to contribute, who cares? That's fine. I sort of like the idea of investing, but I don't need any money. So I don't need to have a guy. Like as an example, I told you about the Ford plant. So Ford, I would call up Ford, and I'd say, congratulations on the plant. That's the good news. The bad news is you're going to pay a 35% tax, because you're not going to take all our jobs, everything. You're not going to do it. Now, if a politician said that, the lobbyists would call him within 10 minutes after he said it to the head of Ford, who's a very capable guy, by the way. He actually wrote me a letter, very nice letter. But the politicians would call, representing Ford. The politicians would hit, the lobbyists would hit, the special interests would hit, and the donors would hit. The poor president would be just inundated with people that gave him contributions. Okay? Who knows more about giving contributions than me? I give to everybody. And they all treat me so nice. Not anymore, by the way. Now they don't like me because I'm running. But, as a businessman, they treated me so nice. It was almost embarrassing, to be honest with you. I felt bad. Badly. But what would happen to politicians? So he says, I'm sorry, you have to pay a tax. So within about 10 minutes, he would say, well, it's okay. It's wonderful that Ford's going to. Me, I would also be called. And I would say, fellas, save your dime, okay? Save your money, because you know what? Not going to happen. I don't want them going to Mexico. I want jobs in the United States. And you didn't give me any money, and I don't owe you anything. Okay? I don't owe you anything. And here's what happens. And I don't say 100% sure, but I would say 99%. Okay? That's pretty good. I get a call from Ford or whoever. And they'd try one more time. I'd say, not interested. And they'd say, Mr. President, well, we've decided to build our plant in the United States. Great. That's what's going to happen. 100%. Now, Univision doesn't like the fact that I've exposed horrible trade deals. They're using this whole thing at the border, because who can be against stopping the illegals from pouring in? But Univision knows that I've exposed a lot of bad deals. I have the biggest crowds. I get the biggest ovations when I talk about trade. Now, Bush doesn't know anything about trade. He's a stiff. He doesn't know anything about trade. What the hell does he? Seriously, what does he know? He never did anything like this. I wrote The Art of the Deal. In all fairness, #1, I guess, #1 selling business book of all time. Who read The Art of the Deal? Everybody, everybody, everybody. So we have to bring our jobs back. We have to bring our manufacturing back. We have to bring it all back. And I will tell you that I know the best negotiators in the world. I know the good ones. I know the bad ones. I know the ones that are overrated. I know the ones that people never heard about that are better than all of them. I know the best. And I'd put them in charge of China. I'd put them in charge of Japan. This trade deal is a disaster, by the way, because currency manipulation is the biggest weapon that these countries have. And we have no control over their currency manipulation. And in fact, they weren't even talking about it until I brought it up about 2 months ago. Then all of a sudden it started to become, in fact, I did commercials on currency manipulation with respect to the trade deal. And I will tell you that this trade deal is terrible. First of all, currency manipulation. Second of all, you should make individual deals with individual countries instead of a vast number of countries. China will come in. They're just licking their chops on this one. And you know the amazing thing? Obama wants it, and many of the Republicans want it. And it's a bad deal. First of all, I don't want to have Obama negotiating for me. Under this deal, he negotiates. I don't want to have And I would have the best, I would have the smartest people there are making deals with individual countries. The problem when you have 11 and 12 and 10, you have this vast number of countries, is that the countries that treat us badly, of course they all treat us badly. Nobody treats us well because nobody respects us. Nobody respects our leadership because they think they're stupid. They think they're stupid. They know they're incompetent. But the ones that treat us better, the other ones are given to favored nations because they're taking advantage of the deals that we make for the countries that treat us better. So I want individual deals for individual countries. You can do that. These are countries. These are big deals. I mean, you can actually sit down and make deals with individual countries. Because I'm a free trader. I like free trade, but I don't like free trade if we don't have the right people represent us. The one problem with free trade is you need smart people representing you. And we don't have smart people. A friend of mine who's a manufacturer tries to deal in China. He can't get his product into China. And then after 2 years of working his ass off to try and get his product in, he gets it in. They charge him a massive tax. They call it a tariff because it sounds a little bit softer. Tariff. My friend calls up. He says, "What's going on?" You might have heard. I told it the other day. A friend of mine is a very big contractor. He's an excavator. He buys excavation equipment. He always buys Caterpillar tractors. Japan, which is really, Abe is their new leader. He's very smart, the best they've had in a long time. Smart. He knocked the hell out of the currency. And I see my friend, he's upset. I say, "What's wrong?" He said, "My whole life I bought Caterpillar tractors. And now I'm buying Komatsu." I said, "Komatsu? Why?" He said, "Because Japan has so devalued their currency, the yen, that, hey, I owe it to my wife, I owe it to my family, I owe it to my employees. But they've so devalued that they had no choice." So he's buying Komatsu tractors instead of Caterpillar, first time in his life. And he feels badly about it, but I understand what he's saying. I fully understand what he's saying. So we have to get our country back in line. Now, it's very interesting because CNN, who's here tonight, one of the folks from CNN, who's CNN? Where's CNN? I love those CNN people. So CNN did a poll, right? That's all right. That was a good poll. Actually, it was sort of shocking that I did so well with CNN. But they did a poll, and it was a very interesting poll. And in that poll, I was second. And it's sort of interesting because here are the results. And I just saw them the first time a little while ago. On terrorism, Trump ranks right at the top. Oh, I would be so tough. I would be so tough. I would be so tough, those poor people. On international trade, who is the best? Basically, it says, what Republican candidate do you think would have the best handle on international trade policy? Right? Trump wins in a landslide. I have 27%. The next is actually Jeb Bush at 14%, but actually I don't think he is the next. I think I could pick a couple of guys that are better. Then they go, who do you think would have the best handle on the economy? Okay? Well, Trump wins in a landslide. Trump, 29%. Actually, not sure is second. Not sure. But I was 29%. I would do, believe me, I would be, and I said it, I would be the best jobs president that God ever created. That I could tell you. Sure. And then they have a couple of more. I've never seen, a poll like this. Hey, look, I'm not a politician. I don't look at a lot of polls, right? But on illegal immigration, who would be the best? Trump is right at the top. Really good. These are really good numbers. And then I say, well, why don't we just cancel this ridiculous primary and just vote for Trump? Oh, here's another one. Who would be the strongest leader? That's a pretty big thing, don't you think? Wouldn't you say that's like important as a poll? Trump is by far, in here, the strongest leader. I would be the strongest leader. The only one I do badly is who is the nicest person. On that one, I'm last. I'm last. I don't know. It's sort of sad. But But you know what? Somebody said to me that the other day. They said, but you know, a lot of people don't know you're a nice person. They think you're actually not a nice person. I said, you know, I don't think it matters, because I actually think this is going to be an election based on competence. We're tired of incompetent people in this country. But when you see these numbers, I never saw a poll like that, you know, where they talk about all these different things. But, you know, who's the best for the economy? Trump. Who's the best on terrorism? Who's the best on, you know, so many different categories. I'm number one, and in some cases by like a landslide. And I say to myself, wow, that's good. And it's true. I would be great for the economy. I know what's going wrong. I know what's happening. I know what's happening. Now, the other papers I brought in, I don't usually do this, but I had to do it. Because, again, I heard so much from Univision, which is incredible. You know this guy, Jorge, whatever the hell his name is, he's some announcer, he's the biggest, they say he's the Walter Cronkite of Spanish television. And he wrote me, and he's been killing me for years, you know, just nasty guy. And he writes me this beautiful letter. Dear Mr. Trump, I would greatly like to interview you, and I would like to talk to you, and I have questions to ask, and I know you have questions to answer. And he said, please call me, and he gives me his personal cell phone. So I released a letter. I released it. Somebody said, should we take out our cell phone? I said, no. Why? He wrote me the letter. Why should I take it out? I mean, he's treated me terribly. Why should I take it out? So then we actually called him an hour later, and there was no response because the thing was burning to the ground. Okay. Okay. So, but I'm sure he's a very nice man. So Univision is treating me like I'm the worst person in the world. And honestly, we have great people coming in from Mexico, tremendous people. And they're coming in legally. And they're hard workers, and they do a great job. But we have a lot of illegals coming from all over the place. And these are rough people. So what happens is I go and I check out the papers. Listen to this. Now, here's the best. This is from the Huffington Post. This isn't from the Donald Trump Express. This is the Huffington Post. It's actually, this is hard to believe. So this is, and actually it originally came from Fusion. You know who owns Fusion? Univision. That's what I was told. I don't know, maybe, just in case I say I think. But I was told by some people. But the people that told me, I don't know if they're so smart. Okay? So I always like to protect myself. So I think, but Univision supposedly owns Fusion. So it goes through Fusion and to the Huffington Post. Listen to the headline. 80% of Central American women and girls are raped crossing into the United States. I was shocked to see it. This is the Huffington Post, and this is Fusion. 80% of Central American women and girls are raped crossing into the United States. And then I'm a bad person because I said we have to stop the illegals. Okay? We have to stop the illegals. We have to get the bad element out. I'm a bad person. And we can't afford it anyway. Thousands and thousands of people are coming in. And then you see an article like that. Then I have others. Reporter killed crossing border. Listen to this one. Illegal immigrant teen rapes, murders 93-year-old Nebraska woman. Illegal immigrant teen rapes, murders 93-year-old Nebraska woman. I'm a bad guy, right? Obama immigration scandals. Surge of illegals crossing the border. Deportable criminals released onto the United States streets. That's the fact. These are all reputable, you know, this is taken out of very reputable papers. And I actually did that because after I, you know, said we got to have people, they have to go through a process. I don't mind. I want, look, my parents came in, people come in. But that, they shouldn't just walk across the border. There's another one that I read before where they advertise and people come in and they just come in and they say, don't worry about it, we'll get you in. Once you're in, they'll let you come in and stay. We don't even know where these people come from. So I look at what's going on in this country. I look at how sad the situation is. I look at how poorly our vets are treated. I look at how poorly our military is treated. I look at our military going down. I watch 60 Minutes and I see the nukes are in such bad shape we don't even know if they work, which, by the way, should have never, ever been shown on television. Okay? Ever. You saw that. Should have never been shown on television. They showed a scene that was so unbelievable. 60 Minutes. And Obama was the one that wanted it because he's looking for some money to fix them up, and he said, I can't. So he puts on, I mean, what do you think Putin is saying when he sees that? The telephone lines, did anybody see that piece 6 months ago? The telephone lines are so bad, right, that they don't even know if they could work. They have to scream into the telephone. They're obsolete. Okay? This should have never been put on. Should have never been put on. And, you know, it's like we do things and the president gets up and says exactly what we're doing. We're going to go in 2 weeks and we're going to do this and that and we're going to attack from here and there. And I say, that's brilliant, because he's saying the opposite of what, but it's not the opposite. And I say to myself, I'm a student of war. Life is war. But I'm a student. General Douglas MacArthur, he was great. Highest grades in the history, I'm a big person for grades. Highest grades in the history of West Point, General Douglas MacArthur. Great general. General George Patton, tough. And I say, I wonder what these guys are doing when he hears what's going on with our country. I wonder what they're doing. It's just, to me, incredible. It's just incredible. So we have to get ourselves the General George Patton, and somebody's in there, and I'll find him, because I find good people. I find. We have to get, one of the military leaders recently was saying, well, ISIS is going to be very hard to defeat. I don't know that we can do it. And I say, what? What did he just say? I don't know that we can do it. Can you believe that? And by the way, even if you felt that, you shouldn't say it. Even boots on the ground. Whether you want boots on the ground or not, you shouldn't say. You should say, I want boots on the ground, even if you don't. I mean, these generals must be spinning in their graves when they hear the stupidity, the baby talk, the dumbness, and when they see what's going on with our country. And we are now in a position where people are laughing at us all over the world. So I'm so glad that I did research on the border. I've really studied the border. I only studied it after I, got hit. I just said, we need strong borders. You know, another thing. I have a statement. The American dream is dead, but I'm going to make it bigger and better and stronger than ever before. That's my statement. Well, that's good. And I think it's a very good statement. I think it's very poignant. But here's the problem. So I see it on television over the last week. And I said it when I announced. And I said, the American dream is dead. And I'm going to make it bigger and stronger than ever before. The place goes crazy. Right? Except the problem is on television, they cut off the second part. So I'm right. You see it. So I'm going, the American dream is dead. And then they go, cut. And everyone said, boy, that was terrible. That's a rough statement. And I'm telling you, 60% of them cut it off. It's really, really dishonest. So I tell you these stories because, you got to know. You got to know. It's never going to be easy. But if I win, I'm going to make this country so great. Okay. I like that. I like it. But we all have to be realistic. Not going to be easy. The press is against you. Totally against you. I mean, what Hillary's done is criminal, with emails and everything else. The press is totally against you. If you're a conservative Republican, if a conservative Republican did what she's done, they would have been in jail 6 months ago. For many, many years. For many, many years. So it's never going to be easy. But I will tell you, I watched politicians. I've known politicians all my life. I've known them all my life. I've done very well with politicians. I made a fortune because of politicians. Okay? But I deal with them all my life. And I understand politicians very well. Somebody said, he doesn't have the experience. You know, it's very funny. I watch these clowns, and they are clowns, political pundits. They don't have anything. They got nothing good. They're not even smart people. And I watched somebody the other day saying, oh my God, Trump is doing so well in the polls. He will keep a governor off the stage for the debate. Oh, it's just so terrible. He'll keep a senator, keep a governor who was no good. He'll keep a senator who lost. He'll keep somebody else who's got a lot of problems. You know, it's funny. I went to the best school, probably the hardest school in the world to get into, the Wharton School of Finance, right? You know, right? It's the best. But if it's not the hardest, it's like one of the few hardest schools in the world to get into. I got in. I was a really good student and all that stuff. So I go to Wharton, I get in. And that was before I was Trump. I didn't like, oh, gee, I'm going to get in. My son's going to have an easier time than me, believe me. But I get into Wharton. I have an uncle, actually, who passed away, but great, Dr. John Trump, who was at MIT for many years, engineer, one of the most brilliant men. I'm really smart. I mean, like I'm really smart, right? So I go to Wharton. I come out, I make a tremendous fortune. And real estate, I'm not doing a love site, I'm not doing a travel site. I mean, you know, this is real estate. This is like labor and brick and mortar and loans and banks, and you got to be smart. And I come out, I build a tremendous fortune, a net worth of actually, when I gave it's higher, much higher now than what I showed, because a little time's gone by. And real estate's, you know, gone through the roof, and if you have great real estate, there's very few people that have real estate like I do. So I go to Wharton, I do great. I get out, I build a fortune. Billions and billions and billions of dollars. And I have the best assets, incredible assets. I write a book, it's called The Art of the Deal. I signed 10 of them tonight, where people are coming up, oh, would you sign my Art of the Deal? Trump, The Art of the Deal. #1 bestseller for many, many, many weeks. New York Times list, every list. Like an amazing experience. And now it's you know, again, one of the greatest selling bestsellers of all time. A business book, the #1. I then do a television show. Everybody says it's going to fail, because why would women want to watch Donald Trump on television, okay? Am I so bad? Am I so bad? Good. Okay, she gave the right answer. We have one of our stars here. Where is she? Tanya, stand up. Stand up. Who was great. By the way, it was like old home week. I felt very comfortable. She did a great job. Thanks, son. So I go out, I do a show that everybody said is going to be a failure because I'm on it. I say, what's wrong with me? The show does unbelievable. One of the most successful shows and one of the most successful reality shows of all time. And in fact, the phrase "you're fired" is the third most acclaimed phrase in the history of television, according to a chart. You're fired. #1 was "Here's Johnny." #2 was something else. And #3, out of all these years, you're fired. #3. So I do the show. It's a spectacular success. In fact, what a lot of people don't know, NBC renewed it. Did you know that? Yeah. And Mark Burnett called me up. He said, Donald, I got to ask you, you got renewed. Nobody gets renewed. I mean, hardly anybody. You got renewed and you're not doing it. I said, Mark, I have something I have to do. I've done it for 14 seasons. And we had a great season last year. We got really good ratings, everything. He said, but you're not taking a renewal. I said, I can't. I can't. Now, if I bomb at this, I'll do it, I guess, right? The only one unhappy about me going to #2, I think, was NBC, if you want to really know the truth. But, so I say to myself, okay, so I go into Wharton, great student. Go here, make a fortune. Because I made a fortune, I do The Apprentice. Because I made a fortune, I do a book called The Art of the Deal. I mean, they're not going to buy it if I'm a recipient not doing too well. Okay, The Art of the Deal, you have to do well. You know, to do The Art of the Deal and to do The Apprentice, you have to be doing well. Okay, so because of my success, I do these two things. They became great. Then I hear these pundits on television. George Will, the most boring human being I've ever seen. Oh, I mean, the guy sit down, it's like death. It's like watching death. And he goes, sleepy eyes Chuck Todd, okay? Meet the Press. Meet the Press is going down the tubes. I see these guys on television. And they're scorning. What right does he have to take a place of somebody, some politician, many of whom are no good? And I watch the politicians. I watch him go on before me, because sometimes we do what's called a cattle call. Not a very nice name. Okay? See, if I was a woman, they wouldn't allow that name to take place, right? Carly should fight that, because it's not nice. But they call a cattle call. And I see all the politicians. And they say, and they get up on the stage, and they walk around. They're all over the place. The sun will rise. The moon will set. We will have a great country tomorrow. And the people are sitting there saying, we just want a job. All we want is a job. And I watch this, and I call it political talk. It's all talk. It's no action. So I think, and I really believe strongly, it's time now that we make not an Obama change, which was a total disaster. A total disaster. A great name for him at the time, but he has been one of the truly, truly bad presidents of any time. Any time. So, it's time for real change. It's time for change where we do go back to the basics. It's time for change where we go out and we make this country unbelievably great again. And the people of Iowa are amazing because they work hard, they love the country, they want to see this happen, and it's an honor to be with you tonight. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.